Welcome back to r/neighbors from hell, where people share stories about their crazy neighbors. And if you're new to my channel, please don't forget to subscribe to join our amazing community. And without any further ado, let's dive right into the stories. The first one is titled "Neighbor Forced Me to Shorten My Fence and I Got Perfect Revenge with Naked Mannequins." I had a very high fence around my property. It was not that I was unfriendly with the neighbors, it was just that I have 3 Great Danes who tended to want to jump over the smaller fence in their younger days. They are older now and know to stay within the property, but the tall fence remained. It was still good to have for them, and it gave me the bonus of my own privacy. The people I live close to are mostly okay, and they just have a tendency to want to be nosy and in everyone else's business. So having my yard be safe from prying eyes is a nice thing for me. Unfortunately, one of these neighbors clearly did not like this and caught me when I was walking my dogs one morning. Neighbor: "Hey, you live there with the giant side fence, right?" Me: "Yes, is there a problem?" Neighbor: "No, I was just wondering when you were going to cut it down to a respectable size." I was shocked at how blatant this man was being. Me: "I was not really planning on changing it. My dogs are big, so I need a big fence to keep them inside of it. Plus I like how it is." Neighbor: "Having it so high must be encroaching on your next door neighbor's property though." I didn't know how he would have even come to that conclusion or knew how to respond to it at the time. If I knew what he was going to do next, I might have thought of a witty reply, but instead I just made an excuse to slink away from him. Unfortunately, that was not the end of this guy, who I learned was living in the house behind mine, and I'm guessing he did not like my tall fence from the back. He ended up going to the city and complaining about the height of my fence. He ended up getting them to agree with him, and I was forced to shorten my fence to match the rest of the neighborhood. My dogs were excited that they could now stand on 2 feet and peek over the fence at everyone passing by. It was not the worst situation, but I was still mad at him for making me remove my fence and telling me what to do with my property. Especially now that neighbors were able to see inside of my yard and make stupid comments about my lawn and my dogs running around. So I decided that I was going to get revenge on this guy, and I knew just how I was going to do it. A while back, a buddy of mine closed down his clothing store and had all sorts of things still in his possession. These included a bunch of mannequins that he had no use for, so I called him up and asked if I could take them off of his hands, and soon I was the new owner of 5 full-sized mannequins. Now the real fun began as I transformed my backyard daily like it was a dollhouse with all the mannequins in different positions. Sometimes they were innocent, while other times they could be perceived as a little dirty. No matter what though, I made sure that they were 100% naked at all times. This infuriated the neighbor, and he tried his best to contact the city again, saying that I was doing lewd things. They basically told him that there was no law about mannequins and it didn't really count as nudity. Additionally, it was my own backyard, so they had no control over what I was doing in it, as long as I was not breaking any laws. Instead of giving up though, he thought it would be a good idea to come and try to threaten me to my face. Ironically, he did this by going over the fence into my backyard, which I know is technically trespassing, but I didn't want to deal with that legally. Neighbor: "Don't think you're going to get away with your perversion." Me: "What are you talking about?" Neighbor: "All those naked things in your yard, trying to corrupt everyone, that it's okay to not have any clothing on and expose themselves." Let me tell you guys, this day they were actually looking pretty innocent, where I had them having a little barbecue with one mannequin wearing a chef's hat and manning the grill, while the others sat or stood around holding paper plates. Me: "They cannot expose themselves. They have nothing to expose." Neighbor: "I can call the police on you and get you put on some sex offender list for things like this." Me: "Feel free to call them. The city already told you though that I wasn't doing anything illegal. Besides, everyone else in the neighborhood seems to love what I am doing with them. I even set up their own Instagram if you want to follow it." Neighbor: "I see that you think you're so funny. You won't think it's so funny when something terrible happens to them when you are asleep. I have a feeling they are going to vanish, and everyone will realize how wrong it was." Me? I have cameras, so if anyone comes to make them vanish, I will know. And you would be the prime theft suspect as you are on camera right now, threatening to do it. He did not have a response after that and sulked away back to his own yard. I was not kidding though when I said that I had made them their own Instagram, which was not viral by any means, but most of my neighbors followed it. I did not change their positions every day, but when I was bored or wanting to feel creative, I would come up with different poses they could be in and write little captions of their situations. With the ideas of holidays thrown into the mix, I not only had a ton of ideas of my own, but suggestions and recommendations from neighbors. Some had even contacted me asking if I wanted a few more, but I declined. I didn't want to go down a slope that I would end up with 100 of these things. Also, side note if anyone is curious, my dogs took a while to understand that the mannequins were not real people and now mostly ignore them when they are in the backyard to run around or do their business. There was also one more instance I saw on camera of the neighbor trying to come over the fence only for my 3 dogs to think that he was playing and trying to chase after him. 3 Great Danes that you don't know are friendly running after you would scare most people, so that put a stop to him climbing over the fence as well. And yeah, ripe stars, I actually had to look this up that Great Danes can really jump that high, but it seems like it is really true. I always thought that cats were the ones that could jump so high, but it seems like some dogs are experts at that as well. Either way, if you enjoy the stories about crazy neighbors, then I would really appreciate it if you could like the video and maybe even post some star emojis in the comments if you want to support the channel. Thank you so much for your amazing support, and now let's continue with the stories. And the next one is titled, Am I the a-hole for buying a property where the house burned down, leaving a small MIL suite and not rebuilding a house there? My neighbors think so. I was looking to buy a place, but I wanted something very small since I would be living alone and I don't want a lot to clean. I found something pretty unique, a lot which had a house that burned down and was demolished, everything taken out so the land could be built on. But there was a garage still standing with a 1-bedroom mother-in-law suite above it. Just a bedroom, bathroom and little kitchen. This was surrounded by half an acre of mostly forest. I didn't know what to think of it at first, till I went and toured it. I loved it, the 3-car garage would give me space to work on my car and bikes. The suite upstairs was bigger than any apartment I had and would be all my own to customize in a way I never could with an apartment. And also, the price was super low, unbelievably low for the area. I actually was able to pay a 50% down payment and I will own it in full 5 years. I checked with the local regulations and it would still be legal for me to live in the mother-in-law suite on the property. Anyway, long story short, I closed on the house and moved in. I was really happy with the place, it was just the right amount of space for me. Roomy without being a pain to clean, the outdoor space is great for my dogs and hosting barbecues with my friends. So on to the trouble, a couple neighbors made comments about being glad that someone moved in to fix the place which was an eyesore on their street. But a while later my neighbors started asking when I would start building, and I realized they thought that I was living in the mother-in-law suite and planning on building a main house. I said I was not planning on it yet, I don't need a lot of space yet. My neighbors got upset that I was bringing down the property value by leaving the lot a vacant lot and leaving in an old garage, not mentioning that the garage was new and a whole residence. I said I was not trying to bring it down, I would keep it nice, but I didn't have house building kind of money. They said just by keeping it as is, I was bringing it down since its value was maybe 1/6 of the other home's values. I got frustrated and said I was not the one that burned the house down, maybe blame whoever did that. I just got the place as is. The neighbors got upset with me saying that because they had been close with the previous neighbors and the fire had been a tragic accident. I said sorry, I didn't know, but honestly they couldn't put their expectations on me after I had bought a place not knowing any of that. I just bought a place wanting to get something I could afford, how could I expect to suddenly be expected to spend 6 times as much? The neighbor said that if I was buying a demolished building's land, there is an expectation that I rebuild something. Am I the a-hole for buying the land without plans of building? And Ripe Stars, I will relay this question to you. Do you think that OP is the a-hole for doing that or not? Please let us know what you think in the comments. A user in the comments said, "This is not about property values, it is about micromanaging neighbors who want to tell you what you can do with your own property. As long as you don't have a bunch of rusting cars or cooking meth, they can all go pound sand." Another user in the comments said, "If you have the legal right to occupy the dwelling on the land and you obey all laws relating to the use of the land and dwelling, then that should be the end of the story. It sounds to me like you have scored yourself a total bargain. Owning instead of renting and being clear of the loan within 5 years makes your purchase sound like a very savvy investment. Well done, you lucky dude, no offense intended." As for your neighbors, don't even owe them an explanation. You are hardly responsible for satisfying their expectations. If raising the price of their own homes is so important to them, tell them that they are welcome to build a house for you. If you really want to piss the neighbors off, tell them that you are thinking of bringing in a couple of trailers for your extended family and then sit back and watch the fun. Not the a-hole. Enjoy your new home and congrats on a fantastic score. The next one is titled, "Am I the a-hole for sending my neighbor Venmo requests every day until he pays for the laptop his kid broke?" I'm a high school student and live with my family. I was doing some homework on the patio table outside and I was the only one home. I went inside to refill my water bottle and came back out to see my laptop on the ground and my neighbor's kid running around the deck. The neighbor lives next door in a different house and we don't have a shared yard, so I was not expecting his kid coming around. I tried to catch her and ask what had happened to the laptop, and she ran away to her own house and wouldn't talk to me. I went home and checked on the Ring camera and saw a video of my neighbor's kid running into the yard, running under the table, pushing up on the underside of the table, causing everything on it to tilt and slide to the ground, and running away in under a minute that I had been inside. I downloaded the video to my phone and went to the neighbor's house to ask him for money to replace the laptop. I decided to ask for $1,700 for the laptop and $159 for the lost time that I spent doing the homework that I would have to redo. I valued my lost time at the amount I am paid at work, since I would likely have to skip a couple shifts at work to redo the assignment. I went to the neighbor's house and he said he was not gonna pay because I shouldn't have left the laptop out and anything could have happened, like rain or something. I said it was a clear day and I only went inside for a minute. Anyway, anything didn't happen. I had a video of his kid happening to my laptop, and since she was too little to pay for it herself, he had to pay as her dad. But he said no. Now, this might be petty, but I have his Venmo because my family and his family did a barbecue block party thing and I had to pay him for a share of the shopping. So, every day I have sent a $1,859 request to him and he keeps declining it. I told my family and they think I shouldn't have left out the laptop and that I was harassing him doing that and that they will replace it for me. They would use some of my college fund money. However, I feel like they should not have to pay. Plus, I will need that college fund for college. So I have kept Venmo requesting him and also posted the video from the camera on the community Facebook saying, "Hey, any advice here? I had a neighbor's kid come to my house and break something expensive on camera." Are they supposed to pay, and how can I do that? The parents have been refusing to pay a bunch of times. Is there some homeowner insurance or something to help? Sorry for dumb questions, I'm a high schooler and I've never dealt with something like this before. Anyway, my parents found the post and got upset at me for stirring the trouble up and for continuing to Venmo request him. Am I the a-hole for being so stubborn about getting paid for the broken laptop? And yeah, Ripe Stars, I would love to hear your opinion about this. Do you think that OP is the a-hole here or not? Personally, I would say he is definitely not the a-hole for requesting to get the money paid back for the laptop, especially if it was such an expensive laptop. The parents of that kid definitely need to take responsibility. However, then again, what I didn't really like was that OP posted the video of the kid doing that on the community Facebook page. In my opinion, a post would have been enough, or maybe if someone was requesting proof or something, then you could have sent them the video in private. Either way, a user in the comments said, "The neighbor's kid was trespassing and willfully destroyed your property. You have evidence, file a police report, not the a-hole." And yeah guys, that is probably the better option. Instead of giving the video, as I said, to random people who are requesting it, just give the video to the police. That should be enough. Another user said, "Not the a-hole, but you are beating your head against a wall. Your first step should have been filing a police report and then you sue in, most likely small claims court. Don't count on getting the full value back unless your computer was brand new out of the box and it will be valued at the replacement cost for a comparable use and age computer, and you will probably be laughed at for asking for money for shifts missed. However, they should give you money to help replace it." The next one is titled, "Am I the a-hole for not raking my neighbor's yard?" So I recently moved into a new house, first fall with the neighbors. They have not been particularly friendly since we moved in, but mostly just ignoring us and no other negative interactions. We have a tree that sits on the property line. Technically I think it is our tree, but since moving in I simply use it as a reference for where the property line is. I have mowed up to that tree and seemed like the neighbor used the same reference. Yesterday I was out raking leaves in our yard, and as I was raking I see the neighbor drive home, enter their house and like normally ignore me completely. I finished raking our yard and went inside. Within 5 minutes of me going inside, doorbell rings and neighbor is on the doorstep. He asks me if I plan to finish raking. A little confused I look at my clean yard and informed him that I had finished already. He proceeds to tell me that my leaves are on his yard and it is my responsibility to remove them. This is already the most we have spoken ever, but I was still kind of waiting for the haha, just kidding. I'm not really sure what to say, so after a couple seconds of my confused silence, he repeats himself saying that I need to get my leaves off his lawn. At this point I just tell him that I'm responsible for my own yard and I would not be raking his yard. He says, "So that's the kind of neighbor you're going to be, huh?" And then walks away, and I hear him say something along the lines of, "Figures I would get the a-holes next door." So, am I the a-hole for only raking my own lawn? There are other trees in the neighborhood, including in this neighbor's yard, but just this one tree in particular that I guess obviously drops leaves in both yards. And a user in the comments said, "Not the a-hole, so I guess you know what sort of neighbor he is going to be, an even bigger a-hole. No such thing as raking up all the leaves to your tree outside of your yard. What, do you need to genetically test every leaf blown around the neighborhood? Everyone one way or another benefits from trees in the neighborhood. The price is cleaning your yard." Another user agreed, "Not the a-hole, his yard, his leaves. Technically he could trim any branches that overhang his yard, provided it does not damage the tree. If it was me, I would get the property surveyed and find out who actually owns the tree. Still wouldn't be cleaning his yard though." And ripe stars, with this we have reached the end of the video. However, if you still cannot get enough of my content, then I would highly suggest to check out my endless binge watch playlist, which will soon show up in the left corner of the screen. In addition, I would really appreciate it if you could not only subscribe to the channel, but also turn on the bell notifications, which you can do by clicking on the little bell icon right next to the subscribe button. This will help my channel tremendously, and this will make sure that you don't miss any of my videos. Furthermore, if you want to see additional ripe content that I don't post on YouTube, then I would suggest to head on over to patreon.com/ripeyoutube for more than 50 exclusive videos that you will not see anywhere else. Thank you so much for your amazing daily support, and I hope to see you again tomorrow.